Why do you think a lot of people don't last like in sales, or no matter what you do, it's coming in, compared to like commissions? If you don't do anything, you're not going to get anything.
5 o'clock comes and yeah, maybe I have to leave to go run kids around or whatever, but when that's done, then I'm working again.
Try to transition their life into owning your own business. They've lived so long with a steady paycheck, putting in minimal amount of effort and still getting that paycheck.
And that's what happened with the Marshall fires. Can you come up with $10,000 if your car disappeared all of a sudden?
What are like the biggest barriers that you had? Part-time job?
With full-time pay.
Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Totem Podcast. I'm your host, Monico Carrillo. Remember that an act of rebellion is to question. What's up, Eric?
Not much, just here. Enjoying the new studio. We got a little bit of new wall decor up on the walls instead of the usual flag and stuff.
The usual flag and just flat black. So, yeah, change it up today.
A little bit more pizzazz.
There you go. There you go. Aimee, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I mean, thanks for cruising out here. It's a bit for you to come out here, but appreciate it. Could you give the audience like a brief breakdown, like what do you, like who you are, what you do, stuff like that?
Okay. My name is Aimee Skul, and I own a farmer's insurance agency. And so I just work with customers to help them understand how their insurance policies work, why they are paying that money every month, and what they can expect if something happens to their home or their business or their cars, and how the claims process works. So,
first of all, it's like something I'm really interested in is like why insurance? Like, why'd you get into insurance?
How did I get into insurance?
Because there's a lot of people like it's a commission based, so it's not, you don't get a secure paycheck.
Yeah.
So it's like, why'd you choose?
I was working for a financial planning company, and I had a great team that I was working with, but I was the last person there. So until somebody else retired, I was not going to be able to move up within the company. So I just kind of started looking, and I never thought I would do sales, but watching the financial planner that I worked with and how he did sales, and all it was building relationships with people and talking to people. So I just kind of started looking for something else. And a farmer's district manager contacted me. They saw my resume out there, and they contacted me and called me in for an interview. And I told my husband when I was going in for the interview, I hate insurance, but I haven't been on an interview in 10 years, so I need some interview experience, so I'm just going to go. And so I went in and had my interview, and it was really them kind of selling me on the opportunity and what it can do for me, and it really was my opportunity to own my own business. I'm not an artistic type of person, so I could never design something or build something or anything like that. So, but this gave me the ability to own my own business and have the freedom of schedule and continue to work with clients on their finances, but on a different side of the financial world. So I learned a lot about insurance. I knew nothing about insurance at the time, and so I just realized that it is an important piece that everybody has for their finances. It can, if you don't have the right coverage in place and something happens, it can put you in financial ruin. So it was just something that intrigued me and was a way to continue with my same customers, but in a different manner. And so I jumped on board.
How was that like that at the beginning, where you go from, like, I'm guessing you had like a paycheck, more
I had a salary,
salary, more like almost like no matter what you do, it's coming in.
Yep.
Compared to like commissions, like if you don't do anything, you're not going to get anything.
It was shocking at first, yes.
And how was that conversation like with your
shocking
husband?
Or scary?
Terrifying, absolutely, yeah.
Because you have kids too, so
I didn't have kids at the time.
Okay,
no.
okay.
He was all for it because he's a natural salesperson. So he was like, absolutely, this is the way for you to have control over your life. Everybody talks about work-life balance. This was my way to be able to have a work-life balance.
Is there work-life balance?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's what you thought at first,
yes,
but then now it's.
I do have total control over my schedule, so I can plan life things around work, but I'm working all the time. When you own a business, you work all the time. So, but I do have the ability to go to things that I wouldn't have the ability to go to if I had a 9-to-5 job. But so he was all for it, and I did really well for about 3 months, and then all of a sudden, like, the pipeline just dried up, and nobody was saying yes, and I had a massive panic attack, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he had me listen to some sales motivational tapes, and so it helped, and you just... It's not an easy business, but you just keep going. I mean, they say 3 in every 10 will make it that try it, and so I just kept grinding, and like failure wasn't an option, so you just keep going. And I did end up 2 years into it. We had our first baby, and so it was just like, okay, we got to do this. This has got to work, and we just kept going. So
you said about 3 in 10 like agents make it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then I'm curious, who was the first motivational speaker you listened to?
I can't think of his name. He's older guy, and he's not alive anymore, but he was big. Zig Ziglar.
Zig Ziglar.
Mm-hmm.
He's good.
Mm-hmm. That was the one that he sent me all kinds of stuff to listen to in my car. And
still the cassette stuff? Was it still cassettes or was it CDs now?
it was CDs at that point in time, yeah.
That great.
Was it that long ago?
That long ago?
Well, it was a while. It was about 18 years ago, but yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Because for like, that's kind of how it was for us too. My first one that I listened to was Grant Cardone. I don't know if you're aware, but he's like big into sales and stuff like that. And it was like some short video that I just listened to, and I was just like, oh, this kind of makes sense. That's kind of like why our motto like here is like an act
of rebellion is the question.
Yeah, because it's I was just sitting there and I listened to it, and it just kind of like questioned my whole thing. I was like what? Just questioned like my whole beliefs of everything. I was like, wait, what? I think there's something more here. Yeah. But that's why I'm always curious to know, like...
The first one I listened to was Andy Frisella when he was on SoundCloud.
Okay.
Way back then. I remember our older brother Diego like recommended him, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll listen to it. And it was like a week later, and then I still hadn't listened to it, and he texted me again. He's like, did you listen to it? And I was like, no. And he was like, no, you should probably listen to it because it's pretty good. And like he'd like push me to listen to it, and I listened to it, and I was like, oh, like that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, to listen, you have to see Andy Frisella, like, just on audio. I don't know if you're aware with him. Just on audio, I mean, doesn't do it just. Like, you have to see him, because he's really...
I think that's true with that for anybody.
He's really, like, amped, like, ready to go. So you kind of have to see him. It's not just, like, audio stuff. Just kind of...
Yeah. And you have to do what they say. I mean, you can listen to them all you want, but you gotta make it a practice to do what they say. Because it works. I mean, it works for lots of people, but only if you do what they say. So,
why do you think a lot of people don't last, like in sales or like in insurance specifically?
It's just a grind, and I don't think they expect it to be that hard. You know, I heard somebody because when you first start with farmers, you're in the district office for the couple of years while they're training you on everything. And I heard one of the guys who was coming in say, well, this is wonderful because now everybody's my client. He used to sell medical sales, and he's like, so I was limited on who I could sell to. Now I can sell to absolutely anybody. This is going to be wonderful. And it's like, it seems that easy, but it's not that easy. I mean, some companies, there are certain markets that they're looking for, and you don't really know. So until you run the quotes, you don't really know. And sometimes you're going to be really competitive, and sometimes you're not competitive at all. And there's no way to know until you actually put the information in the system. And so I think people go into it thinking, oh, everybody's going to want to work with me, all my friends, all my family, everybody I know. And it's just not that easy. If it was that easy, then everybody would be successful. Yeah. It's not that easy.
It's funny. Sometimes like your closest family and stuff, they won't support you until later on. And like just random strangers are going to start supporting you first. Yeah. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's the lobsters in the bucket where they see you starting to become successful and they're kind of a little envious of you to begin with. And it's not until you actually start to build something that they're like, oh, like they're actually serious. Like,
They
Let
know
me
what they're
actually support
doing.
them.
They're, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I heard a thing. Oh, it was on a video, and it was I forgot. I saved it on my phone somewhere. But it's saying like people like your family, your haters, like they support you when you're starting off, and then as you're actually going, and you get a little bit more serious and you're actually going, they like want to pull you back down because they say you remind them of their dreams. Like I could have done this. Now that you're actually going, like, no wait, where the fuck you going? Get back over here.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you see the video.
Don't get too successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see the. I think I sent it to you of Bradley. I don't know if you know him. He's talking about. He's like, yeah, your friends are gonna be like that, and then once you're like, hey, I can't hang out on the weekend or I can't do this, they're gonna be like, what the fuck are you doing? Come back and be average again. Like,
Yeah.
where are you going?
Yeah.
He's like, and that's the hard part. Like,
Yeah. You got so successful that you're too good for us now, and it's like, no, I got so successful that I don't have time to do anything else right now.
Yeah.
I think it's harder for people to like last in sales or owning their own business if they come from a 9-to-5 job
Uh-huh.
and then try to transition their life into owning your own business because they've lived so long with like the steady paycheck,
Yeah.
putting in minimal amount of effort and still getting that paycheck, as opposed to someone who that's all they've known.
Yeah.
Like as soon as like they're old enough to start doing their own thing, start having their own business, all they know is to put in this maximum amount of effort
Yeah.
to be able to like work your way there.
Yeah.
What
And
do
it's
you
just like two different types of people that are in that situation, and that's how they respond different to like adversity as they come to. Because like as business owner, having your own business, you're gonna run nothing but roadblocks.
Yeah.
There's gonna be roadblocks all around.
But
Then you're just used to just overcoming them, and that's just a part of the norm. But like if you come from like a regular 9-to-5 job, it's like you don't have those roadblocks. You just show up, clock in,
Yeah.
do the job you're hired to do, and then go home.
Yeah. And the day never ends. I mean, 5 o'clock comes and yeah, maybe I have to leave to go run kids around or whatever, but then when that's done, then I'm working again. Like it's just, and a lot of people aren't used to that. They're like, I get paid to work from 9 to 5, so that's when I'm gonna work.
So do you think that was a benefit for you, Eric? Because you pretty much went from college to like your business.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you
'cause,
don't know the difference?
I mean, well,
I mean, he was the number one. What was it? Door greeter, cashier at
cashier.
Walmart.
No, that was my sophomore year in college. But my freshman year, I would literally go on Craigslist on the free stuff, and I'd go pick up a bunch of free stuff, and then flip it and try and just sell it on Facebook Marketplace.
Wow.
Like I even had my dad's van, and I would like pack that thing up with everything.
The candy van. So just put it in perspective, it was a van with no windows. So it looked like he was
Yeah, it was one of those like creeper vans, and it had a big old like wolf sticker in the back. It super creepy.
Yeah.
No, but I would go around and like pick up stuff for free, flip it on Facebook Marketplace or other places, and like sell it for a profit.
Yeah.
And that's how I did my whole freshman year. So I was like, I've
You're an entrepreneur.
I've been like that since the beginning.
Yeah.
And then I did get like a job like in my sophomore year in college. So I was like, oh no, like let me get something more like steady or whatever. But then I didn't even last 3 months. I didn't even get the employee discount because you have to be there for 3 months to be able to get the discount, and I didn't even get it because I didn't last.
Yeah.
Because I just got so sick and tired of it right away.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, the paycheck I guess is okay, but then you have to show from this time to this time, and you have to do this, nothing else.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't last.
Well, that's see, then that I don't have necessarily that entrepreneurial spirit that you have. There's no way that I would be able to just go sell something to people. I tell people I'm in sales, but I sell a product that the law requires and that banks require if you have a loan on your property. And so, yes, I'm in sales, but not like I'm not out hustling people and trying to get them to buy my product. I'm very impressed with people that can do that. But yeah.
I think it comes from just growing up with my dad.
Yeah.
My dad's been just an entrepreneur his whole life. They had a store here in Fort Morgan for over 20 years and stuff, and he'd also like kind of work for himself as like a carpet installer and stuff. So it's like we've seen since we were like little, like in order to get your way in this world, you have to kind of bust your ass and work for it.
Absolutely, and you're selling yourself constantly. I have a lot of clients that are contractors, and they'll start their own business because they're like, well, I'm tired of doing all the work and the boss is making all the money and getting all the glory for it. And then, after a year or so of being on their own, they realize how much work the boss was doing behind the scenes that they didn't know. A lot of them don't know how to do sales. And I'm like, well, you have to tell people that you're there. People aren't going to find you. Like, you got to let people know where you are. So
someone has to be out and about.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You can be really, really good at your craft, but you also have to be, kind of a good entrepreneurial person, or else it's not going to work. So
Yeah,
you have to be able to listen to some of those motivational tapes,
absolutely.
because sometimes like it's just like the gym. Like there's days I show up and I do not want to do it.
Yes.
But then I know that you still have to do it.
Yeah.
Like whether I want to do it or not, that doesn't matter. It's like you have to actually just put in your mind that it has to get done no matter what.
Yeah.
That's what I think a lot of people, like, if you're related to like the gym, once you just kind of get it in your mind, or for like business, they're like, this is just what we do now. Like,
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, so you just,
Yes.
it's easier to go. But once you make it like so painful that you're just like, oh, you dread it.
I hate it, yeah.
Then you just start dreading your business, start dreading whatever you're doing, and that's where the burnout comes, I think, where people, like, quote unquote, they call burnout.
Yeah.
That's where I think
They
that
move on to something different. Yeah.
that kind of goes through. But for you personally, what are the biggest barriers that you had, like, as you were going?
Well, in insurance, I have no control over the product that I'm selling. And so that's a little difficult, because sometimes I don't necessarily agree with how it works, but there's nothing I can do to change that. That's the way the laws are set up, or that's the way the company has decided to set up their policy. And so so that was a little difficult, and just learning. And I just learned that it's really just about communication with people and telling them and explaining to them why it is the way it is, and having meetings with people. I think that's the second barrier, is that everybody in insurance who's buying insurance wants to be able to get it done in like a couple minutes. They just want to hit some buttons on a computer and have the policy in place, and they don't really understand how important it is to have it set up right and know what it is that they're paying for. And so getting people to take the time to listen is another challenge. But that's the most important piece, is that you have conversations with the customers so that you're setting it up the way they need it to be set up and the way they want it to be set up, and not just, throwing together a state minimum policy that gives you what you have to have, but isn't going to, pay for the car if the car gets stolen or anything like that. So
Do you think, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do you think just working like for farmers, like you said, you're not in control of the product, kind of limits of like what you can do and stuff, what you can offer to clients?
Well, yeah. I mean, you only have, the policies that they provide for you. Farmers is nice because they allow me, if Farmers doesn't offer that policy, I can go outside and become more of an independent and sell other products. But like when it comes to a home policy, I have to sell the Farmers home policy. And so, the good thing for me is that it's also, they have made their policy very flexible, so I can tailor make it to what the clients need within the laws of the state. So there are things I can do to help them meet their needs and make it more towards them. But there are certain things that the law just doesn't, I get told all the time, there's no separate structures on my property, I don't need that coverage. Well, the law requires me to have that coverage on your policy, so there's nothing I can do about that. So
do you have people like that come in a long time, like, I don't need that, I don't need that, and then like stuff now we see like the home values go up, so obviously your insurance has to go up, because if it used to say your home was like covering $300,000, now your home's like $500,000, so it's like, I don't think people kind of maybe understand the gap. Like if your home goes away, they'll only give you $300,000. You're not going to build a house for $300,000.
And that's what happened with the Marshall Fire, is that there are, so when I'm presenting my policy to people, there are some very, very, very cheap premium policies out there. So when I'm presenting my farmers homeowners policy to them, and they'll say to me, well, how come your policy is $1,000 a year more than this policy? Well, it's all of the details of this policy that makes it different. And one of those big things is that our policy every year will increase as the cost of construction goes up, as inflation goes up. Some of these cheaper policies don't do that. And that's what we saw with the Marshall Fire, is there are people who bought their house 5 years ago and have $300,000 worth of coverage, and then the fire happens and it's $700,000 to rebuild their house. And so they have a huge gap in coverage. That's why it's so important for the consumer, when you are comparing, an insurance policy, there's a reason why one is $1,000 more than the other one, and you need to know what that is. So that's what I try to do, is explain to them, okay, well, my policy offers this, 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 and this. This policy does not. You make your decision based on that information. So.
And it's easier to do it in person instead of online.
Absolutely.
Online, I've gone through and they don't really put what is actually included.
No. And I think that's the danger, is that you can go online and just go buy a policy, but you have no idea what you're buying. You just are buying whatever shows up on the computer. You don't know what questions to ask or anything. And so that's where people get into trouble, is because they didn't have anybody guiding them through the process, and they just bought whatever was cheap. Because why wouldn't you? You think insurance is insurance. So I'm just this one's $1,000 less. I'm just going to buy that one.
People think of it as like a requirement that they have to have. So you can just get the bare minimum just to get that box checked off.
Yep.
Not as an actual necessity to actually be able to protect your assets.
Yes.
Because now that I'm thinking, I think once you talk business, yes, it's a disservice to the consumer, but how many times have we downloaded an app where the terms and conditions, you don't read that, you just click on it. So I think because we've all had online insurance before, I'm pretty sure, if not most of us have. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh yeah, this is cool, and then terms and conditions, I ain't gonna read that. Let's go, and you just click on it. But in there it said XYZ is not covered, XYZ or whatever, and then stuff happens.
Yeah. There are times, so everybody, when they're looking at their homeowner's insurance, they look at deck pages, so they'll compare this deck page with this deck page. And the information on that page can be almost exactly the same.
What's a deck page?
A deck page, it's the declaration, so it tells you you've got $300,000 to rebuild your house, you've got $30,000 for separate structure, so it gives you all the information as far as the limits of your policy.
So it's like an overview.
Yes.
Okay.
But that is not the most important part of the policy. The most important part of the policy is, do we pay, how much do we pay out if your roof needs to be replaced? Or do we pay full replacement cost on your personal property if there's a fire? Or do you get a depreciated amount? Or, do we adjust your policy every year? Or is it something that you need to look at yourself every year? If you want to buy that cheaper policy, that's fine. But then you need to know in your mind, I need to pay very close attention to this cheap policy because I need to adjust it every year in order to keep up with stuff. So,
which most likely nobody won't.
Nobody will do it.
Yeah.
No.
It's what? You want me to pay? Here's an extra $50 without you telling me I have to pay.
Yes. Yeah. And take the time to think about it. So, so there's just all of those details are in the fine print in the, 120-page policy you get in the mail. Well, nobody reads that. Mm-hmm. So they depend on, having an agent tell them how the policy works. And if they're doing it all online and not talking to somebody, then they're missing that whole piece. So if you're going to do it online and not talk to somebody, you need to be prepared to sit down and read all of those words that are in, attorney language that you probably won't even understand if you try to read it.
Big.
Yeah.
Do you see that happening more with one specific type of policy, home versus auto or anything, or is it overall?
I think it's personal stuff. So homes and autos, people are getting online a lot more because they can and it's easy. And, it's almost like buying a used car. Nobody wants to talk to the salesperson because they feel like they're getting sold. And so insurance has become that. And so I think anytime people can get away with not talking to somebody, they'll try to do that. And it's just, it's just consumer knowledge. They don't realize what they are limiting themselves to if they do it that way. So
why do you think that is? Do you think they're because they've gotten burned in the past that they don't want to do it, or they just want to avoid it?
Well, everybody wants it to be done as quick as possible. So 10, 15 minutes online, and then they don't want to be sold. They're afraid that they're going to get upsold, and so they just There's
It's convenient at the time, but then in the
Yes.
long run, it's
Yeah, and as
not
long as
gonna be
nothing
good.
happens, you'll be fine. It's just
Until
if.
just the people that something happens to that it becomes a big issue.
So now, your personal opinion, do you think everybody should have a full coverage like on vehicles? Because for Colorado's like what, number one?
For stolen vehicles,
So do you think people should?
I think more people should than what they think, because I don't think people realize the value of their cars anymore. It used to be that if your car was over 10 years old, it was probably valued at maybe $1,000, $2,000. So by the time, if you have a $500 deductible and your car gets stolen and it's worth $2,000, you're getting $1,500 back. Well, you're paying for that $1,500. Now a used car 10, 15 years old is $15,000, $20,000. So if you don't have full coverage and that car gets stolen, that's $15,000, $20,000 that you don't get. So,
Yeah,
but
'cause-
I don't think people think, they don't think that way. They think, oh, it's a 10-year-old, 15-year-old car. It's not worth anything anymore anyway. Well,
Yeah,
it
because
is.
that's the thing that what I was asking you, because you say like somebody might be able to afford a $60,000-$70,000 car. Most people have the full coverage because they have to have it, but a lot of people say the car's only like $10,000. Yeah, but that's the only $10,000 you have.
Yeah.
Because if you had $1 million in the bank, you're probably not driving a $10,000 car.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah. Can you
So-
come up with $10,000 if your car disappeared all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Not
probably.
most people could not. Yeah.
I think most people just wait until because a lot of people get like a new car from the dealership or whatever.
Uh-huh.
They wait until they pay off the loan so they can take off the full coverage because then they think they're set.
That's a very common question we get in the office is, oh, I've paid my loan off. Can I drop some of my coverage? I'm like, you can, but that car is still worth $30,000, so you don't want to. I mean, and that's part of what's driving up car insurance rates is the cost of replacing a car has gone up dramatically. I have clients who bought cars in the early 2000s who got hit, their car got destroyed in that hailstorm in 2017. And the insurance company paid them more for their car in 2017 than they paid for it in 2000.
Really?
So that's
Wow.
kind of flipped, because it used to be that cars would depreciate drastically. Well, the cost of cars have gone up so much that that's not the case anymore. So
That's crazy how that is. But yeah, people usually learn the hard way. They learn off of
Yes.
pain. If they don't suffer, it's like messed up.
Yes.
But like that's gonna be the best way.
yeah,
It's like when you're young too. Your parents will be like, "Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't touch the stove because it's hot. Don't touch the stove." And he keeps doing it. Like, well, fuck it. Let him burn himself a little bit. We'll see what
He'll learn.
happens. He'll learn. That's
Yeah.
funny though.
So you sell farmers insurance,
yes,
but you don't promote yourself as a farmer's agent. You promote yourself more as Aimee Skul agency.
correct.
Why is that?
Well, part of it's just the farmers' rules. Like, I can't use their branding on my own website and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
You can't?
And I cannot, no.
Okay.
So I have a farmer's website that has all the farmers' branding on it, but if I have my own website, I can't use any of their branding or anything. And the farmer's website has come a long way as far as what they can do with just recognition in the Google listings and all that kind of stuff. But when I first started, there was no, like, the back end stuff wasn't there, and so you wouldn't be found. So I started this other website in order to be able to utilize some of that search engine optimization stuff. And then Farmers has caught up to that, so that I probably don't need two websites, but I have one. And then I can, because on the commercial side, when it comes to business insurance, I can sell stuff that is not Farmers. And so my personal website drives more traffic for my commercial business. So, and stuff that I wouldn't, Farmers would never advertise for that type of business, so.
So you just started out. So you basically just started it out because you wanted to just get found.
Yeah, I
more?
wanted to be able to utilize the internet marketing a lot more than what I was able to do with my farmer's website.
Not necessarily to just make your own brand as like your own kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah. I don't have any intention of ever leaving Farmers. I feel like my clients have been very well taken care of by Farmers. I mean, I've had clients have total losses on their house. I had clients who lost their homes in the Marshall Fire, and they were thrilled with the money that Farmers was giving them. I had a lot of people who had smoke damage, and Farmers went in and took great care of getting their houses cleaned up and all that kind of stuff. And so I love the way they treat my customers. So I don't have any intention of leaving Farmers. But there's just that other piece to the stuff that Farmers can't do that I can do. So I just need to market that as well. So.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is because like there's a lot of Farmers agents out there, but it's like, why should they choose to go with you?
Why should the customer go with me?
Yeah, instead of like all these
other agents.
Just
For my agency, our philosophy is we're just there to educate the customer. We do a lot of customer service. When you call, a person answers the phone, unless we're busy and you get voicemail. But if you leave a voicemail, a person will call you back, within a couple of hours at the most. Technology in the insurance world is going so far the other way that people really are kind of on their own. So if you ask questions, there's a lot of companies out there that if you ask questions, you're talking to AI. And so they're going to answer your question however the AI feels it needs to be answered, but that may not really be the question that you're asking. And so we're there to really kind of help you understand what it is your needs are, what your questions are, and find solutions for you, and help people understand that it's a package. It's a piece of their financial package. It's not just an insurance bill that they have to pay every month. It is, if something were to happen, this is what protects your assets. So.
You were saying we answer the phone and all this. Mm-hmm. So you have other people that work with you. Mm-hmm. When did you know that you needed to hire some people to actually give better customer service, better experience to the
when
clients?
I got to the point where I didn't have time to answer people's questions and could not call them back on a timely manner and that type of stuff. And so
how far in was that into your business?
Well, I started with somebody in 6 months, and they were doing more outgoing phone calls for me. And then about 2 years, I got to the point where I needed somebody with insurance knowledge that could answer the phones and handle that side. So, and I have Donna, who's worked for me it's been over 10 years now, but she's been selling insurance since the 80s. So I know that if I'm not the person they're talking to and they're talking to her, she knows what she's talking about. She understands the insurance laws. She knows everything. So I feel very comfortable with her answering the phones. She has since stepped back to part-time because she's retirement age but doesn't necessarily want to retire completely. So she's only in my office a couple days a week. But then I have Dawn, who's newer to the industry. She's great at customer service and she can answer basic questions, but she knows what her limits are. And so if the questions get to something that she doesn't know, then she'll wait and find out the answer. So
how do you find good people?
That's the challenge. That has been the biggest challenge of my entire career is finding good staff.
I thought you were going to give us the magic,
no.
This is the blueprint. Here you go.
No. I got lucky with Donna. She just happened to be looking for a job at a time when I needed staff, and so we just somebody else kind of connected us, and so it worked out. And that worked out great. We've known that Donna was going to kind of back off her hours for several years. It took us about 5 years to find Dawn. And I knew Dawn from a different industry. She actually was she did nails. And her industry, after COVID, struggled to come back. Nobody wanted to schedule appointments to get their nails done anymore. They were all going into the walk-in places, and she can't sit around and wait for people to walk in all day. So she saw her business and her industry kind of changing, and so she was like, well, maybe I should, she asked me about what I was looking for. She knew I was always looking for staff. So she was like, this is something I could do. And the reason that I hired her is she has the customer service skills. She knows, she had her own clients, so she knows how important it is to treat clients in a manner that they want to work with you. And she knows what it's like to own a business, so she understands how important, all of the little details are of owning a business. And so she just had to learn the insurance stuff, and she's learning that. it doesn't take too long to learn. She knows all the basics. There's some detailed questions that people have that she's not comfortable answering yet, which is fine. She's got Donna and myself to answer those questions. So
how much people did you kind of like go through till you
I found Don?
Yeah.
There's probably about 15 people in about a 5-year
15.
period. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Because some of
crazy.
them come in and last a month, and then they hate insurance, and so they leave.
Were they usually like younger people that were the ones that were coming in?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Some of them, like we had a girl who came in, she wanted to come to insurance because she was so excited because she had been a CNA and she wanted to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And so she was so excited for that. And then after about 3 months, she was like, well, I spend all my weekends trying to go grocery shopping and do all the stuff that I used to do during the week. And now I don't have time to have fun on the weekends.
Was she doing like sales stuff or what? Or just
She was doing customer service.
customer
work.
service?
Mhm.
Okay.
So she left because she felt like she was working too many hours. So it's just, you just never know.
Is that one of the bigger reasons people were going, you think? Like
'Cause
the
they don't-
hour-wise?
They don't want to work 40 hours a week. So
They don't want to
No,
So what do they want to work?
about 20 to 25 would
So they want a
most.
part-time job?
Yeah.
With full-time pay.
But they want
With
full-time
full-time pay?
Yes.
Oh, that's...
So that's the biggest challenge.
That's a problem.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So and I
You should have told me that in the interview. You just wanted to be...
I don't mind. Part-time people are fine, but you're not going to make very much money if you're only working part-time. But yeah.
So
That's interesting.
So do you see
Okay.
like any like that stuff, like how people feel like in the like interview process, or is it just like later on you like start to?
Oh, you learn that later on. Yeah.
Later on.
Yeah.
Probably in the interview, everything sounds perfect, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. People have very good
She's
interview
like, I found the
skills.
one. I found the one.
Uh-huh.
Then like a month later, just like, yeah.
Yeah.
How quickly can you like detect people like I don't know if they're gonna last
Usually about a month in.
a month in?
Because you can just see their, you can see their attitude. And some people just really hate insurance. And, until you've been, like, I've been on the side where I've seen where insurance has saved people's stress and saved people's livelihood. And they're very thankful at that point in time that they have you. And so, until you see that side of it, sometimes you feel like, I'm a snake oil salesman, I'm selling you this stuff that never will do anything for you. But then when when somebody has a big, I've had accidents where people have died and my customers were at fault for it. And, there are times when I feel like I need a psychology degree because I'm counseling them through that process. But thankfully they had the insurance to pay all of the financial side of that, because otherwise they'd have the stress of the trauma of that accident, plus the fact that, they're going to take my home from me too. So
That's crazy.
yeah.
So you said you had more of like the younger people kind of just in and out. Just
I had
cycling through?
I had one that I thought was going to be really good, and she did great for a year, and then she got pregnant, and then once her baby was born, she didn't want to come back to work. So that was the one that lasted the longest. But most of them, it's a short term. Like they come in, they think they want to work an office job, and then they don't want to work an office job.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't.
Do you think it's just like the younger generation, just like I want to do minimum amount of effort but get the maximum amount of
They're
results?
fucking lazy. That's what it is. Like
I
they're getting
hear-
soft, like I think.
I hear work-life balance a lot. Those are words that I hear a lot. And I feel like insurance allows a great work-life balance because, as you learn the industry and as you learn more about the job, I think, our entry-level customer service job would be perfect for somebody who didn't go to college that wants to have the ability to make good money. Because you don't start out making, $100,000 a year, but, you're making, $20 to $25 an hour. And then as you learn the industry, because when you first start out, all you're doing is basically answering phones and either taking a payment over the phone or passing the phone call off to somebody else. But once you learn the industry and you can handle the phone calls and you can take the job, you can work your way up, and you can make $100,000 working in an office at an insurance agency. And so somebody who doesn't want to go to college and doesn't want to spend, that time and money on something like that, it can be a lucrative job over time.
I have a theory that, like, usually if you go to college, for you to do your own business or for you to go somewhere, like, I don't think they're the right person, because you go into college, you're like, you think you know everything.
Yeah.
So you go into summer, because we ran into it, like, and I always have that, like, with camera stuff. Like, I didn't go to college to learn camera stuff, and I feel like I know way more about camera stuff than other people that did go to college. Just because, I mean, they get to a point, you went to college, they think you know everything, and then you stop learning. And
Well, and it used to be, so when I went to college, my mom, actually, because my parents didn't go to college, my mom had a job that her bosses would rotate, because it was kind of a stepping stone for bosses. And so it would, like, every year or two, she'd have a new boss. And she could do the boss's job, but she didn't have a degree. And so they would never put her in that position. And so she was constantly training new bosses to do their job. And so she always told me, you need a college degree, because eventually you're going to get to a point in your career where you have to have one in order to continue to move up. Nobody ever told me, you need a college degree because you're going to make $100,000 as soon as you graduate from college. It was, you need a college degree so that after you've worked your way up, when you get to the top, you can still go. But nowadays it's like, I have a college degree, so I should be at the top.
they want to start here, start with, like...
It's funny, too, because one of the reasons I went to college was because I wanted to have my own business. So I went in as a business major. I thought that's how you get there.
Yeah.
But after the first year, I was taking a bunch of random classes.
Okay,
and it's like, what's going on? I was taking statistics and everything.
Yeah.
I was like, what? So after that, I like switched out and stuff, and switched my major and all that stuff. And pretty much the only reason I finished was because I wanted to just prove to myself that I could finish.
Yeah.
Because then after that, I realized, like, a business degree is not going to help me have my own business. It might help me work for somebody else.
Absolutely.
And, like, be able to move up in the company, how you're saying and stuff. But to have your own business, it's not necessary at all.
No.
Well, that's
and
what college
there's
is.
so much extra stuff. I mean, I have a son right now who's questioning his high school classes. He's like, what relevance is this? Why do I even need to know this? And so I'm sitting there thinking, okay, if you go to a 4-year college, and I had to take classes like music appreciation and all these different classes, I'm like,
Jazz history.
yeah, I'm like, you're going to be paying all this money to go to college, and you're going to be in those classes going, why am I even here? Like, what am I even doing?
Yeah.
So that's part of the problem with the 4-year degree, is they force you to take, I get the idea is to be well-rounded, but it's very expensive learning.
It's very expensive to be well-rounded.
Yes.
And it's like, at what cost?
Yeah. You can be well-rounded just living your life, too. So.
It's because I think, but there's, like, a lot of stuff to back it up number-wise. Like, colleges and schools they're not really made to pump out, like, entrepreneurs or business owners. They're made to make employees, so that's why you got to be well-rounded, because I need you to be versatile as you're working for me. Like,
so you do multiple jobs and get paid for one job.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Isn't that the best employee? That's really good. He can do everything.
You can find that employee, yes.
I know, we do look for him. We're still looking for him. That's why we're asking you, what's the recipe?
What's the recipe? I don't, luck. They gotta land in your lap. But we're always told, like, and I had a server at a restaurant this weekend, and she was awesome. And so I was like, gosh, if I was hiring right now, I would probably give her my card and tell her to call me, just because she had a great attitude and just nice, and
Attitude and effort.
So they always told us when I first started, they said, look for people who are in entry-level positions at other businesses, and if they provide good service to you, then talk to them about, are they ready to move up into something more.
Something different.
What would have been some of, like, the biggest frustrations you've had so far?
Staffing is really my biggest frustration, because that is, that's what's going to alleviate my time, is having enough staff, and I never have enough staff. So
you can never have enough.
No, because I get a new one and it grows, and then I get a new one and it grows. So, yeah, because I really do enjoy my job. I love talking to people. It's a little frustrating when they're not willing to talk to you, and sometimes you feel like you're just I'm just a machine that's emailing people pieces of paper to look at. But we have a system to try to get people to open up and talk to us a little more. So even if it's through email, at least I'm having a conversation with you and getting you to think about what it is you're really paying for. So
How do you have we go back to it, the balance of like having your business and then like as a mom too? Because your son loves hockey, travels everywhere to do hockey.
Yes.
How does that work?
that is the craziness, because I have 2 boys that play hockey and a daughter who plays competitive softball.
Yeah.
And so they always have to be somewhere. I am constantly saying, I don't know how people who work for other people do this, because there's my husband and I, between the 2 of us, there's 3 of them. They always have to be somewhere, and a lot of times it's like at 4 in the afternoon, or or
it's
or
never
we
at
travel.
convenient times.
Yeah, they travel a lot, and so. But I travel with my computer and you do my work from wherever I have to do it, and staff, definitely. Donna and Don have allowed me to be able to be a mom to my children as well. But it's just, you just have to get in that mindset that it may be 10 o'clock in a hotel room that I'm working, but I'm working, so.
And how do you, like, what kind of stuff are you, like, teaching your kids doing, I guess, to do, like?
Just that anything they do it's going to be hard work. If you want to be successful in anything you do, it takes hard work. And they're learning that in their sports, and so I just try to kind of relate that to real world stuff too. Like, yes, it is hard work, and yes, you have to put in the work in order to get better, but that's going to be any job you have. Like, you're not just going to, you're never going to have a job where your job's perfect and you love everything about it and there's nothing wrong with it. Like, that's not reality. So.
Do you push them to do sports, or they kind of want to do it?
Oh, they want to. Yeah.
Okay.
We've just always told them, you have to do something after school. Like, you can't just come home and play video games all day. You tell us what you want to do and we'll get you into it. But they love sports. My daughter, I thought, was going to be more of an actress, and she may decide to go that way when she's in high school, but she wanted to play softball, so we gave it a try and she loved it. So that's her focus now. So
that's great. Yeah, I think like at a young age, you should do sports. I think they have to do sports because you're gonna be like, oh, you're pretty good, and then you run into somebody that's better than you, or you run to, like, you had a bad game, like, to deal with adversity. I think that's what
there's times when they have teammates that they don't really like all that much, and I'm like, yeah, and you're gonna have a job someday where you have to work with somebody you don't really like all that much, and that's life. You're gonna have to figure out how to do that.
Yeah,
So,
we had a coach in high school who would he would relate everything we do, like, on the field, like for football, into real life. He's like, if you can't even, like, get your technique down right, like, how do you think you're gonna be able to go out into the real world and be able to do shit that requires for you to just be disciplined?
Absolutely.
And then we had him on the podcast like a while back ago, but it was just,
he's one of our towards the beginning, one of our first ones. But yeah, that was the one I got. Like, it's all about attitude and effort. That's
Absolutely. And that's what I said. That's what we tell our kids. Like, I don't know anything about coaching hockey. I could never tell you what you're doing wrong as far as a hockey player, but I can tell if you've got a bad attitude, or I can tell if you're not giving effort, and that's when I'm going to get on you. But yeah, I mean, there's so many life lessons to sports, but I think kids just have to, and sometimes parents have to realize that's really what it's all about, and focus on, very, very few of them are ever going to play anything beyond high school. So focus on the reality of they're going to have a job someday. So
I think it's funny, or not funny, but, like, pretty cool. You said, like, sometimes it's 10 p.m. in a hotel room when you're working, because a lot of people, they see you and they're like, oh, you have your own business, you can build your own schedule. what a lot of people think that means is build my own schedule. Oh, I'll work 2 hours a day and then I'll be good.
Yeah.
But no, building your own schedule is like figuring out when you need to work.
Yes.
Like you'll make time for whatever you need to, but like my schedule is probably not 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 5 to 3 in the morning or
Yes.
something.
Uh-huh.
Because that's how I like. We had a discussion about this the other day. It's like, when do you work best?
Mm-hmm.
It's like when I work best at night.
Yeah.
So I'll work a little bit in the morning, do some stuff, and then take a break, do what I need to do, and then I'll start hitting it good like once it hits nighttime.
Yeah.
Just when like all the noise is like turned off and stuff. But
Yes.
part of building your own schedules, you still work way more than a 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just like fitting it around everything else
What
you need to
what
do.
else you're doing, yeah. I've had people make comments, like friends, not clients or anything, but where they'll say like, "Oh, I want your schedule," and I'll just laugh sometimes and be like, "Really?
No, you
Do
don't.
you know what my schedule is?" Yes, there are days when I leave the office at 4:00 to start driving my kids around town, but that just means that later that night I'm doing that work. So.
Yeah, that's funny.
The freedom to build your own schedule is
Yeah.
a dangerous game.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
like, yeah, because like you said, it doesn't turn on. And I have like a very thing, I guess controversial. A lot of people, they think it's a little controversy in there. I have a lot of acquaintances, but I have very little friends. Because like, dude, like I was talking to me and my wife were having the conversation the other day. Like, I don't need people telling me like, hey man, you're doing a little bit too much. You're doing this. Like, sometimes I have those thoughts. I need somebody that's like, like, hey, why aren't you doing a little bit more? You know, I mean, because that's what people think. You working late sometimes. They're like, oh, that sucks. You had to work late. It's like, well, dude, like if you like what you do.
Yes.
Yeah, because like last week was our schedules are really messed up. Like sometimes 2 or 3 in the morning, Eric's texting me.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
but I'm up at 5.
I'm
so
texting him just to have like a message for when he gets up. He knows what's going on.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And it's just it's just weird like how it just works different.
But then like this past weekend, I had my bachelor party because I'm getting married in a month. But it's like for us to try and figure out a schedule to like actually go and do something, it was pretty hard.
Yeah.
Because
it was a nightmare.
Our schedule's way different than everybody else's.
Yes.
And it's like, so we had to do like half of it like during the week, and then like the other half kind of like towards the weekend. So it's kind of like a little mixed in there, and then people were like not being able to make it or whatever. But then that I realized like how different like our schedules are
Yes.
than everybody else's.
Well, because you guys are doing weddings, so you're probably Friday, Saturday, Sundays are all
Yeah.
booked. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to come back on a Saturday because we had a wedding on Sunday.
So it's stuff like that
Yeah.
People were like, "Oh, let's just do it Friday, Saturday, Sunday," and I was like, "No, that doesn't work for us."
they're like
Yeah.
on a Tuesday or something.
Yes.
That's what I'm
when
saying.
there's nothing else going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when people's like days off is like the weekend, that's when sometimes we're working more.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Especially
this time of year.
Especially this time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for you, going back to you, so what's one thing that if somebody could have a takeaway from like misunderstandings of insurance, what would it be?
Have a professional explain it to you. Because you have no idea what you're getting unless you're going to read all those forms. Have somebody explain it to you. And they're not trying to sell you on anything. I don't sell anybody anything. I explain to them how the policies work and how the different coverages work, and I let them make the decision. And that's, they need to know exactly what they're getting. Everybody thinks insurance is a waste of money, and my opinion is if it's not set up the way you want it to work, it is a waste of money. Because if you have, all those people that had insurance that they paid maybe $1,000 a year for 5 years, and then their house burned down and they only had, $300,000 of the coverage. What a waste of money that $1,000 a year was all that time, because it really got them nothing. Mm-hmm. So it is a waste of money if it's not set up properly. So.
No, that's great. No, that's good. So where could people kind of learn more about you, find your stuff, or what's the easiest way if someone wants a information quote? Is it through your website? Or?
They can go to my website, schoolinsurance.com. And there's ways to reach us that way, or you can find me on the Farmers website at Aimee Skul, farmersinsurance.com and Aimee Skul. Or they can call me at 974-9320.
Cool. Yeah, we'll drop all that down below so
Okay.
people can start sending the quotes so they can see it, so they can check it out.
Yeah. No, but Aimee, appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come chat with us for a little bit.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, so thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Yeah,
Appreciate it, guys.
Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated. Yeah.